Hello, welcome to these videos where we answer why questions from our students. Today's very interesting is about Thanksgiving Day. Yes, why do Americans celebrate Thanksgiving Day? It's very interesting and a very interesting history. Yes, you can see pictures here, of course, of the great food and the great activities. Oh, Abraham Lincoln is here. He'll come up later. Do you know why? So before I explain to you, do you know, write in the comments, do you know why Abraham Lincoln is connected to Thanksgiving Day? Much older than that, right? Actually, 250 years older than him. So, than his time. And we have the food here, which we'll talk about in a minute, and the Macy's Parade, which is also part of our history. And here, this is a very famous picture of the Pilgrims with the Indians. We'll talk about later. The Native Americans is a more culturally appropriate term now. Of course, Macy's Parade, I didn't know until I researched this. Well, I know about Macy's Parade, but I didn't know until I researched this. That's actually the third. It's tied for the second oldest in America. It's 100 years old, actually, this year. But, of course, Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade is tied with Detroit. They also have a Thanksgiving Day Parade. And it's actually younger, 4 years younger than the Philadelphia Parade. Philadelphia started in 1920, so it's 104 years old now. So Macy's is tied for second, kind of third oldest, within three of the oldest parades. But of course, Americans watch a lot of it, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And I'm wearing Tom and Jerry today, so I thought, yeah, it's only appropriate to show. Inside the Macy's parade, we have a Tom and Jerry tourist trap, a Tom and Jerry float. This is not a balloon. It's easier to get a balloon. Easier to get a float. I recently listened to Freakonomics. If you know Freakonomics books, Freakonomics Radio has. Freakonomics Radio podcast explained this recently about the economics of the Macy's parade. And it's easier to get a float in the parade, which is a car moving around, than it is a balloon. That's a more expensive or more detailed. But so in 1992, they actually were part of the parade, and because they had the new Tom and Jerry movie. And then 28 years later, in 2020, yeah, they started the Tom and Jerry's Tourist Trap, which we'll talk about in a minute. And of course, here's a picture of the great food. And we have turkey. And if you can tell here, we have turkey. Usually this is pumpkin pie, sometimes apple pie, sometimes both. But mostly I would say 80% will be pumpkin pie. And of course we have usually mashed potatoes and other stuff. We'll talk about that later. Why? And why? Another question for you before I answer. Why do Americans eat turkey? Um, we only, I won't say only, but we mostly only eat big turkeys for Christmas and Thanksgiving. The rest of the year we don't eat them. Overseas people think we eat them all the time. That's why they're big on Thanksgiving, but that's not true. We eat turkey sandwiches a lot all through the year, but the actual big turkeys is especially only for Thanksgiving and Christmas. Do you know why that is? So if you can answer below before I start explaining to you why. So of course, Thanksgiving is very old. Also, do anybody know? So before I explain, when did Thanksgiving Day start? Can anybody guess? Yeah, it's probably much older than you think, but it started in 1621. Yes, there were Indians. Let me try to pronounce this correctly. Well, in 1621, there were 50 pilgrims. So pilgrims means European settlers. And there were 90 Wapanoka Native Americans. We used to call them Indians, but Native Americans. By the way, that's an interesting question. Do you know why Native Americans used to be called Indians? That's another question you can answer in the comments. But of course, yes, Thanksgiving Day is celebrated in the United States primarily as a national holiday, thanks especially for harvest, because when the pilgrims came over from Europe, it was very hard for them to know what to grow and how to grow. And the Native Americans helped them a lot, and especially corn. Corn helped them survive for many years because corn was actually new to them. They weren't used to that in Europe and they never seen it. So they helped them realize how you can grow corn even in cold climates, which helped them a lot. So they shared with them their techniques, and later, as a thank you, the 50 pilgrims celebrated with, again, Wapanoa, so people, I hope I said that right, in Plymouth, Massachusetts, the first Thanksgiving. The event is regarded as the first Thanksgiving Day in, of course, American history. So then, after that, sorry, I should say what they ate there because they did not eat turkey, as people imagine. They ate wild fowl. Fowl is another word for birds. They ate wild birds and venison, which is another name for deer. So they ate wild deer and corn and other local produce. they exchanged gifts with each other and also food with each other. They exchanged. Some people brought, similar to what we're doing now in America, where some people brought different items. Like when I do a Christmas or Thanksgiving party for my English school in Japan, different people bring the pie or the turkey or the mashed potatoes or the stuffing. So, of course, prior to this event, various forms of Thanksgiving celebrations existed, of course, from different cultures, different religions. In North America, especially, we had Spanish and French settlers a lot. So French was in the middle, Spanish was kind of more left, and also French was also in Canada. So those settlers brought Thanksgiving cultures and services with them, especially as early as 16th century. Yeah, expressing gratitude for safe voyages because many people didn't survive the voyage to America and then successful harvest because many people didn't survive the first few years in America. The weather was much harder than they were used to, and growing patterns were more difficult. Okay, so although, yeah, days were celebrated initially through American history, so randomly, so people think when you hear this in school in elementary school and you hear about the settlers, we even usually do a play, like in Japanese we'd say Hapiokai, but a school performance with the first settlers with Native Americans, like enjoying dinner together. And so people imagine that event happened every year on an annual basis. It was very random throughout history. There was never a set pattern to it until that was the answer to the first question I said earlier, Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln in 1863 was very busy with a war between the South and the North in America. And America was very divided. Sometimes were fighting brothers, cousins were fighting cousins. So, Amer like England, England, Abraham Lincoln wanted to bring all of America together by creating the Thanksgiving Day. So that's what he did. It took a few years after that to make it a national holiday, but he created like, let's all get together with your family and friends. Don't think about anything else. Just think about your hope and desire for the future, and like say thank you to your God. That's part of the whatever God you have. That was part of the tradition beginning time. Is like, what are you thankful for this year? I'm thankful for getting good grades in school, or I'm thankful for having a new girlfriend, or something like that. People would think, and they would hold hands around the table. So of course, that's what he wanted them to be thankful for. So nowadays, modern tradition is very interesting. Usually now it's celebrated, not usually, it's always celebrated on the fourth Thursday of the year, which is called a moving holiday. So it's the fourth Thursday of the year. But what's interesting, of course, because it's the fourth Thursday, uh, so we also have off Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Saturday, Sunday is normal day off, and Friday's off. That's going to be important later. Is what do we do on Friday? Do you know what Friday is after the Thursday of Thanksgiving? So of course, Thanksgiving people get together and they eat a big meal. So earlier I said turkey. Do you know why we eat turkey? So first I should say we eat turkey with stuffing. Stuffing is actually called stuffing. It's like bread with seasoning. Like it's like croutons. If you eat Caesar salad, it's like the croutons, like that, but it's very delicious. I love it. It's no, you can comment below what's your favorite part of American Thanksgiving. But for me, stuffing. But it's served in two ways. One, it's called stuffing because it stuffs into the bird. But some people don't like that because actually it seasons your bird well, so it helps your bird be more seasoned. But when you take it out after you've cooked the bird for many hours, the stuffing is very soggy. It's soggy and wet. So some people like the other way it's served, which is more dry. So you pan fry it and you just cook it by itself, the stuffing. But anyway, it's delicious either way. But my favorite is, of course, the dry one. Then, of course, we have mashed potatoes and gravy, which, if you've ever been to a KFC in America, you understand that they don't serve fries, they serve mashed potatoes and gravy. So, of course, it's delicious as well. And then we also have cranberry sauce for the kind of dessert, but it's usually served in a can, so we don't make it. In England, they might make it fresh, but in America, it's served in a can. You just cut it and slice it and put it out there. So when I do my Thanksgiving party, that's the easiest thing. They just have to open the can and slice it and bring it to the party. Pumpkin pie, of course, is the main dessert. Like I said, apple pie, it's not unusual. You might have it as a side dish. So Christmas is much more apple pie. Thanksgiving is much more pumpkin pie focused. So it's used. So I've already explained in Halloween lessons about why we use pumpkin instead of, for example, radish, which what it originally was. But so pumpkin pie is the main dessert, usually with whipped cream on top, which is delicious. I loved it. I'm not a fan of pumpkin, but I love pumpkin pie every year. So then what else do we do? Of course, family from all over the country. Christmas is more of a internal family party. Mom, dad, brother, sister, whoever lives in that house will have a party. But Thanksgiving is cousins, aunts, uncles, everybody comes, and they have many tables. Like I was always delegated to the children's table, so I always had to sit with my cousins, or there were like children. We say children is less than 12 years old. They have adult tables and children tables. So they share the food together. So the party is enjoyed by many. So you always say thanks and then you eat the meal. So then, of course, what do we do on Thanksgiving? So we have parades, like I said earlier, the Macy's Parade, which is 100 years old now. So it started in 1924. So of course, it's a very iconic part of Macy's culture. I was surprised to learn in that Freakonomics episode that I think 60 people work on the Macy's Parade all year. So it's such a big event for them that they are working on it 365 days a year. So it's very interesting. Yeah, it actually in that episode they said they don't know how much it makes, but it might make as much or more than the Macy's stores because it's such a huge event. Millions of Americans put the Macy's Parade on TV while they're cooking. So it's in the background. It's like background music in the elevator. So it exists. People don't watch it a lot, but like, oh, there's a band. So there's bands, I should say, not just floats. There's floats and balloons from famous characters like Tom and Jerry. But also there's bands, musical bands from all over America sometimes. And they'll be like, oh, there's a band from so I'm from Tennessee. There's a band from Nashville, Tennessee. You're like, oh, Tennessee, let me see. So you'll run out from the kitchen to watch it, like, oh, so they're Tennessee band. So you'll see parts of it, but it's always on the background. So kids might watch all of it or even that. Then also we have football games. That's in the morning, so the Macy's parade while you're cooking. In the afternoon, while you're eating, usually we eat in the living room because we have lots of people coming. We watch the football game. In my time, I don't know if this is still true, but my time was Detroit Lions versus the Dallas Cowboys. This is one of the reasons as an elementary kid, I had lots of Dallas Cowboys items like a belt buckle or a hat because I got to watch them every Thanksgiving parade. Sorry, Thanksgiving Day in the afternoon. And some families, not my family, but some families will go outside while the food is still cooking, so earlier than the football game. So maybe around lunchtime, because we eat actually around 3 or 4 in the afternoon. Some people go around lunchtime and go to the park and play football. So I know that in my neighborhood it's more basketball, but some people play football in the park until the food is ready. You can see there's a famous Friends episode, the TV show Friends, and I think it was one of the first seasons, one of the first few seasons. And so if you type in TV show Friends and Thanksgiving football episode, you'll see it. It's very interesting. They had a scene where they're playing in the park and they're all playing with um, each other. So it's very interesting. They're being very competitive while the turkey is still cooking because it takes hours to cook, of course. And also charitable acts. Some people do charity on Thanksgiving. For example, like if you know the famous speaker Tony Robbins, he's a famous motivational speaker. For example, I think Bill Clinton or Bill Gates or a lot of famous people were his customers at one point. He's always positive. Well, one thing he does is interesting. Every Thanksgiving, he gives away lots of turkeys. He used to feed people at a food bank. Then he realized maybe I can bring turkeys to people's houses. So he gives away thousands of turkeys every year with his money because he grew up very poor, low income. So he sometimes didn't have a turkey. So me too. Sometimes I had a turkey usually, but sometimes we didn't have ingredients. So some people from the church would bring food to my house as well. So I really appreciated that, especially later in life. When I was younger, I was like, oh, white people have to help us. Like it's just signal that maybe they're better off than us. But I realized no, they were trying to help us enjoy the holiday same as them. So I realized as I got in junior high and high school, that was very kind of those people. So of course, now the commercial success. So it's the only. So America has lots of, not lots of. America has a few holidays and very few national holidays where everybody's off. But we have very, very few holidays where nobody does anything, like banking holidays, like bankers and school people get off a lot for those, but not average people in America. But for Thanksgiving, we have off that Friday, which is called Black Friday. Yes. So they spread, and they have Cyber Monday as well. But on They call it Black Friday because on Friday is the number one Christmas shopping day of the year. So men and boys, at least my time, this might be different now. Gender roles might be changing, but men and boys would stay home and decorate for Christmas and decorate for Christmas and do that kind of stuff. So the Christmas tree and the lights and stuff. And the girls and the women would go out and shopping. So now it might be opposite. So it depends on your house nowadays, I guess. But either way, the number one day of the year for Christmas shopping is Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. The number one cyber shopping day of the year is Monday, because if you didn't get it on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because they'll fight. Nowadays, stores open from 12:01 a.m. So just after midnight, they'll open on Friday. So I used to work at Kmart when I was in high school, and we had to open at 7 a.m. I think at the time. Yeah. So I actually worked on Thanksgiving Day to get ready for those crazy rushes on Friday. So we'd open from 7 or 8 a.m. Now they open from midnight. So, and they're going crazy. So some products are only sold, not only, some products begin to be sold on that day. So they'll wait. Even if the product is finished in September, October, they'll wait until the day after Thanksgiving. So they'll sell it then. So if it's sold out, you might have to wait until January or February to get that product. So it's a very important day. By the way, that's the busiest shopping day of the year. Can you answer below? What's the second busiest shopping day of the year? It's very interesting. Okay, so in a summary, of course, so we started Thanksgiving in what, 1621, with the Native Americans and the Pilgrims showing respect for each other. It took another 250 years or so. Then finally, Abraham Lincoln made it a national holiday to try to get Americans to come together again. And then, of course, another 50 years after that, Macy's Parade was invented as a way to enjoy, well, to push people to shop, but also to enjoy the different characters, TV characters. So if you are not from America and you watch the Macy's Parade, you can see what's popular that year. Ah, that singer's coming. That's probably what's going to be popular that year. Ah, that TV show is showing. That's probably what's going to happen in the next few months. Popular stuff will come. And then, of course, we enjoy turkey and things like that. Oh, I forgot to mention turkey. Why didn't I? Turkey, the reason we eat turkey is because there were millions and millions and millions of turkeys. This is uh, it might be a rumor or an old tale, but there's an old rumor that Benjamin Franklin, one of the founding fathers of America, he wanted the turkey to be America's national bird. Everybody's pretty sure now that's probably just a rumor, but he did love the turkey, and there was millions of them, and eventually, of course, the bald eagle became our national symbol. But because there's millions of them, they're available. That's one reason. Second, they're big animals, easy to feed a whole family. That's second. And third, they really weren't farmed animals like cows and chickens, which we needed for chickens for eggs and cows for milk. So for those three reasons, that's why the turkey was chosen, and specifically for this. And by the way, on that note, if you worry about turkeys or if you're sad about them, every year the White House actually pardons a turkey. It's kind of tradition. Part of Thanksgiving tradition is they'll take a turkey, or maybe it's two these days, and they'll visit the White House. The owner will visit with the turkeys, the farm owner, and they'll bring it, and he'll say pardon, and that turkey will get to live out their life on a beautiful farm. So it's a very interesting tradition. So again, sorry, this is longer than our usual video, but if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments below. Sorry if I went so long this time, but of course it has a long history. Like, what is it, 400 years? Yeah, if you count from the original Pilgrims, 403 years now. So thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to keep those questions coming so we can answer as many as you have. Thanks again, and share this with your friends and family. We'll see you in the next video. See you.